is just a chance for county to kind of explain the processes and the applicant to explain their project to you and answer any questions, concerns, comments you have. Ultimately, this will eventually go to a public hearing. Right now, that hearing is scheduled for September 5th, and if you've got the notice to come to this community meeting, you will get the public hearing notice for that as well. Alexis or Suzanne, do you guys want to say anything to?
Yeah, I'll say something really quick. Hey everyone, I'm Drew from Commissioner Wilson's office. See a lot of familiar faces. So yeah, just before they start, first, just to get out of the way, I know there's definitely going to be a hard out of here at 7, but our whole staff is here, Susie and Alexis and me, so we will be ready to chat in the parking lot if you want. And then as far as this project goes, we actually met with the applicant's team, I believe in April, about this one. So they brought it forward, and we asked them to sort of try to collaborate and meet up with some members of the Avalon Rural Settlement, because they're, if you've been around, they're the ones most dedicated to sort of preserving the area. So we understand that they've met several times since then, and then this community meeting is another step in the process of getting everyone's feedback and making sure that you're, not in the dark about what the plans are. So thanks.
All right, so I'm going to do a quick kind of overview of what the request is as submitted and the processes. And then the applicant team has a presentation as well, and they can answer any very specific questions you might have about the project. But we can answer any questions about the process or anything. Oh, no. Hang on one second, we're going to get the lights dim.
Oh, that's your working. Oh, that working good. That was turned off. There you go.
All right, everybody can see that a little better. Can everybody hear me? Okay, and when we get to questions, I'll probably have everybody, since we have so many people, we might just kind of try to form a line and do it that way, just as opposed to me running around trying to do this. So this is a special exception request. It's case number SC 2408065. As a reminder, this is just a community meeting. There will be a public hearing for this right now scheduled for September 5th. We're in District 1, as you all know. All right, so this request is a special exception for an RV park. I know the notice just said RV park. So an RV park is a campground. It's not like a mobile home park. Nobody will be living there. It's more for like weekend camping, if you will, and the applicant will speak more to that. But the specifics of the RV park request are, it's in the A1 zoning district. So the A1 zoning district allows a campground or an RV park by a special exception, which is the request for the special exception. They're proposing 277 RV camping sites currently. Then there's a clubhouse, pool amenity facility, registration building. It's also an event barn and a museum and a discovery center. That's in conjunction with some agricultural uses. I think the property itself right now, the front half is an orange grove, an existing agricultural orange grove, and the back half, I believe, is trees. But it is a bona fide agricultural use on the property, and they intend to do some agritourism uses in conjunction with the request of the special exception. So just process-wise, they submit an application, we schedule this community meeting. Next step will be that public hearing on September 5th, and then eventually there will be a second public hearing, a BCC hearing. That date is unknown as of now, but you will get noticed. If you got the notice for this, you'll get the notice for those two hearings as well. So that's just some general stuff. Zoning's A1, future land use as RS 1 to 5. It's in the rural settlement, as I'm sure you're all aware. And it's on an 84-acre site. And then there's just the general location, kind of backside of it's on the county line, and it's on Rex Drive. It's below the landfill, above a RIB site. The zoning map, it's zoned A1. You can see all A1 around it, and then as you go farther south, you get into Horizon West and the planned developments. It's just an overall aerial, so you can see the north of the site is that existing landfill, and then south of it is that RIB site, and then houses on one side and some vacant land, and then as you get farther down, getting into Horizon West. And just a zoomed in aerial, so you can see the aerial kind of shows the grove in the front and the pines in the back. So this is the site plan as it was submitted. You can see all the camping sites are what you see here in the back. And then in the front is mostly remaining as is, the grove with a couple buildings put in. There's an event barn. That clubhouse is a building in the middle. There's a registration down there at the bottom, some restroom buildings. And it's kind of like campsite loops for RVs. There's a landscape plan, so they're also, in addition to keeping much of the existing stuff that's there, they're putting in a landscape buffer around the entire boundary. And these are just some elevations of the buildings that'll be in the campsite. That's the registration building. That's the event barn. These are clubhouse and the museum elevations. And this is the restroom and maintenance barn elevations. So just some general background, an RV park or a campground, again, not a mobile home park, but it's more for just camping, not for people to live, requires a special exception to be approved in this district. And then in addition to the special exception, there's codes that we have on the books that they have to meet for an RV park, which as submitted, they're meeting. And then a traffic study is going to be required. The applicant is working on that as we speak. So that's just the general process of everything that I have from the county. I'm going to turn it over to the applicant to kind of describe the project more in depth, and then we get into the questions and comments.
Thank you guys for taking your time and giving us your evening for us to tell you a little bit about our project and share with you our vision on the project. We've got a slide presentation here that we'd like to go through, and if you'll just give us some time to go through it, as Taylor mentioned and Alex mentioned, we're going to have questions at the end, and we're happy to answer all questions and go through everything with you. Old Florida Groves, our vision is to do a world-class type of facility, an agritourism facility that focuses on agritourism. It invites the community, the people to come in, the people staying at the campsites to come in and learn and understand what farming is really about. It's an immersive experience, and it's going to also represent the past, the present, and the future with a number of things that we have on site. Our core values: conservation, preservation, stewardship, and experiential. What does that exactly mean? Well, we've been conserving the property. We have a 40-acre grove and a 40-acre timber stand on the property itself. And the grove area, we've been working seamlessly with our grove manager and implementing best practices. We have a forest manager that we are working with in the timber stand, the silviculture, and using best practices with that. We want to preserve the property itself. We want to share the history of Florida and farmland and the rural life. Stewardship, we want to practice low impact development. We want to use the best stormwater strategies and sustainable irrigation methods. And we want to provide ample green space on the property. We want to leave the grove and the timber stand in place. And experiential, we want people to get out and we want them to have a hands-on experience, which is part of the agritourism. We want them to experience that through participation in picking from the grove and other classes and activities.
So I'm not sure we introduced ourselves. This is Preston Haig that's been talking, and I'm Jake Scrimshire, and so we're the applicant. And we went through that because we mean it. We've owned this since 2021, going on 3 years, and we've been trying to find a plan that's good for the environment, good for the community, works for our guests, works for our ownership. And so that vision, that values is something that we're really trying to do. We have met with Commissioner Wilson a few times and a number of the residents, Art and Lori, so we're trying to get feedback and trying to design this in a way that's good for everybody. This is a 30,000 foot view of the site plan here. Just want to point out a couple things. Taylor already pointed out a bunch of them, but the 40-acre citrus grove remains in the front. That's the main place that the agritourism will take place. People can take part in U-Pick, and they can learn about what's going on, actually take part in the farming activities. In the back, in the pine stand, will be where the RV campsites are nestled in. We're going to remove as few trees as possible, keep the pines there, keep as many pines as we possibly can. You see like a little trail winding through there. There's a natural walking trail for people to enjoy for exercise, just to be out in nature, and then it also will be a guided tour with education, with signs, and where people can learn about the different trees, different wildlife, different farming practices. You got the farm corp there, a couple different buildings. Taylor mentioned a key one in there is this museum and discovery center. So we want to feature the history of Florida agriculture, the history of Florida citrus, and we've talked about also now, as we've gotten to know Art and Lori, doing the history of the Lake Avalon Rural Settlement. And we're planning to partner. There's a Florida Citrus Hall of Fame that's really cool. And it's down at Florida Southern University, and they've got all the old packing labels and all the. There's really cool people in our history that did this for many years in Florida. So, and we'll also talk about silviculture. That's silviculture is big in Florida as well. So that's the big picture, what we're trying to do there. So right here, I know you guys, we want to give you our kind of vision of the project and then get on to what, your concerns might be. So we just wanted the real high level, just kind of give you a sense of what we envision. So this is an artist rendering from Rex, where you can see we want to keep the rural nature. We want to emphasize you've got the citrus you're seeing there. You got really minimalist signage and fencing that fits. This is what we envision for the inside. You're coming down the road. You got the grove in the background, but we're adding native Florida plants to landscaping to make it beautiful and authentic. This is a view from overhead. You can kind of see the farm core. You got the pines in the back, citrus to the left, landscaping buffer you see there on the north. This is what we envision inside. To the left there, you're seeing some RVs nestled in the pine trees. To the right is a clubhouse nestled in the citrus. And then just real quick, just you can kind of get a feel. This is the vision for the types of things that we'd have. It's not going to be modern. It's going to match the rural feel, the ag feel. Some examples of things that might go in the farm core. And all the buildings are going to look like farm buildings. The campground, everything's nestled in the pine trees. We have the karst area on the property. We envision having some walking trails, maybe some wooden paths like that. And just want to keep this is sort of the, types of materials that we might use on the project as well. So that's the big picture, and that's really our vision. I mean, we've been working hard to find something that's a win-win for everybody, and we mean that. But and we're excited about it. We think it could be really cool. We think people will come have fun, but they'll also learn about Florida history. They'll learn about history of ag, and we can preserve this property, preserve this grove. Most other development plans would have to knock most of it down. So we're excited about it, but I know you guys have concerns, questions, so we wanted to try to address those as best we can. From feedback, we've been getting questions from people. We've been getting feedback through this process, so we're aware of some of your questions. So we'll try to hit those, and then of course you can ask whatever other questions you have. So first of all, and Taylor hit on this, our future land use or zoning change is required, and no, we're not seeking to change zoning. We're not seeking to change future land use. This is a special exception that we're pursuing. It's a conditional use. It's already anticipated by the land code that we're requesting. Some of the benefits, you guys, zoning is not changing, land use is not changing, and upon approval, there would be a specific site plan and specific conditions that we would have to comply with. So it's unique approval with those things that we would have to do. Another question that we got, another thing you might be wondering is, what about traffic? How will traffic be handled? And we took this seriously and really looked into that.
Just wanted to trailer park.
I can talk about the trailer park, that's cool. It's not a trailer park. We've heard that, and I know if you look at the site plan, maybe you think that. It's specifically for an RV park. It's very different in the land code, and it's very different in practice. There will be no mobile homes. There will be no long-term guests. Everyone will be a short-term guest. Bring their own RV. They stay for a short time. They experience everything on property, and then they move on. So, not a trailer park, not a mobile home.
What's the definition of a short-term guest, please?
Just hold your questions.
Well, we will definitely talk about that. That's a
We'll
good
get to
question.
that for sure.
So we already kind of spoke to this, but what will happen to the existing citrus grove and pine stand? They'll be kept, they'll be maintained, they'll be replanted if things die. And we've already been doing that. We've done it since 2021. We have actually added 1,800 trees. We took out, there's a lot of dead. We took out that, and then we replanted where we could, the Valencias and Hamlins. We also planted some new trees. Let's see my list here: mandarins, tangerines, grapefruit, maples, lemons, honeybells. And that was intentional because the Hamlins and Valencias are more for juicing. The other ones are good for peel and eat. We wanted some more variety, but we're going to keep it. We're going to take care of it. We're going to replant if necessary. And then we're even looking into doing some other crops. We'd like some diversity over time. So right now it's citrus and the pine, but over time you want to add things. Diversification will be good for the experience, and if we lose any trees.
Avocados, blueberries, a number of things, mangoes, strawberries. And then we've even looked into some hydroponics, doing some hydroponics on the property, really thinking about future and diverse uses that we can use on the property as we continue to move forward.
Yep, thanks, Preston.
Can't hear you.
All right, we'll pick this back up. So how will traffic be handled? I jumped the gun earlier on this one. This one we've given a lot of thought to, and let's go ahead to the next slide here, Preston. Our goal is to have no new traffic, and this is a goal, we can't guarantee it, but no new traffic through the large side roads or other neighborhoods, Wincy Groves, Hamilton Gardens. And we're going to be real proactive to do this. So first of all, it's normal if you're driving an RV, you're going to an RV campground, to get directions ahead of time. Most people want to do that. They don't want their big rig stuck on some side road. So that is the normal practice anyway. So we're going to preemptively send out detailed directions. We're going to guide people the right way to go. And of course, warn them not to trust their GPS. That might be a shorter path, but not the best path. So they'll come off 429, come over New Independence, up Avalon, across McKinney, up Rex to our site. We've requested from Orange County, because it's not our property, but we'd love to have signs on their property and other places. So when people are driving, they can see those signs and it will direct them which way to go. You already have some out in that way that say, no Pine Ridge landfill traffic here, something like that. So we would like to have signage like that as well. Once you get to our site, another concern within the whole idea of traffic would be if there was stacking on Rex Drive. By putting our welcome center in about the middle of the property, it's about a quarter mile in there. That's going to allow stacking to occur on our site instead of on Rex Drive. And we're also going to have a 3-lane check-in at the check-in building, which will allow more cars to be there if it's really busy. Then someone comes, they stay, they have a good time. They're going to leave. We'll have more signage, and we will direct them south out of onto Rex, through McKinney and back the way they came. We'll have signage and curbing and striping to direct all traffic south. See if there's anything else. Oh, on the traffic issue, we have our check-in times in the middle of the day. That should avoid the peak hours when you're going to work, doing the school drop-offs. And so we're trying to keep all the traffic middle of the day. Okay, yeah, another thing I think that's important, and actually, Lori and Art helped us see the importance of it, but we got to keep people on site. Our goal is that when they show up, they have no reason to leave the entire time they're there. So we have extensive amenities that they can use: the pool, the playgrounds for the kids, the splash pad, activities they can do: hiking, biking, yoga, all the educational agritourism activities, taking classes.
Discovery Center and Museum.
Yeah, and then we'll have the Discovery Center and Museum that they can visit, and we hope that every guest would do that when they're there. And last but not least is to have a camp store, only open to our guests, but they can get things that they forgot: sundries, the charcoal, the sunscreen, whatever. So if they want to, they don't have to leave the property the entire time.
You may be wondering how we're going to handle the water and the wastewater. And so both of the items are very important to us. Our water on this project is going to come from our existing well, and we've already spent several $100,000 converting that well over to a potable well. And as well, the wastewater, the code on this property requires that we only do septic, but we have checked into and will be purchasing a package plant for this property. And your typical septic system is only going to remove 50 to 70% of the nitrates, and then the soil will filter out the rest. Very simplified explanation there. I'm sure there's a lot of people in this room that know a lot more about the nitrates and the septic systems than myself. But the package plants that we have looked into are going to remove 95 to 97% of it before it even hits the soil, which is what they're doing right over there at Conserve 2. So we've taken the effort to look into that because we want to preserve the environment itself and be a good steward, protect the water and the Lake Avalon rural settlement, because we are an owner, I've been an owner since 21, and we want to be good stewards with it itself.
Okay, and then the last topic we're going to cover here is what you might be thinking about is just how intrusive this project will be in general. That main thing that brings to mind is how visible it is, and our goal is to seamlessly integrate with the natural surrounding. So you basically wouldn't notice the park. That the RV campsites would be hidden in the back. Can you go forward? Yeah. And that's our goal. And so here's a picture. This is from McKinney, looking across the 80-acre Conserve 2 property. And as you look across here, first of all, it's 80 acres. It's got its own. It's heavily wooded in the back on the what would be the west side, which borders the pine forest where the RV sites would be. And so there's you got a big buffer here. You got a lot of things that are a lot of trees that are going to block the view. If you go to this next picture, this is the view basically from Rex, and you got the 48-acre orange grove in the front that's going to block the view. We also have quite a change in elevation. You may not notice if you haven't been out there. We actually got on the property with Art and Lori, and when you drive all the way back to the pine stand, the grove's kind of going up and down, and you're actually at a lower point back there. And what's going to be cool for everybody when they're back there is you just feel like you're in the middle of nowhere. So it's going to be good for the guests, and then this hides the view from neighbors. In addition to all that, we have the landscape requirements. So we're going to have native Florida plants that will be a buffer around the perimeter of the property and around any buildings that are constructed. So that's the big thing, but there's some other things that kind of fall in this category, like lighting. We're definitely committed to the dark sky lighting. I understand the importance of that for wildlife and just for anyone who lives out there, but it's a win-win. It's easy for us because it's going to make a better experience for our guests anyways, so we're committed to that. And then the last little bit on this is noise. First of all, we'll have quiet hours from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. It's pretty normal in a lot of RV campgrounds, so don't suspect we'll have any complaints from our guests. And then we'll also not have an outdoor sound amplification system. You won't have this PA system going through. Everyone will we just won't have that amplification of sound as part of the project. So yeah, I think that wraps it up. I mean, we have genuinely tried, and I think that Art and Lori and Commissioner Wilson can attest that we reached out and tried to get feedback, and we're trying to do something that's fits in the community, is good for the environment, works for our guests. It's a win-win-win for everybody, and that's what we're trying to do. And we've already made changes through the feedback that we've gotten, and we're open to more. So I don't know the protocol, but happy to answer questions.
All right, I imagine there's probably a lot of questions. The simplest way I think usually to do that is if we can all just line up kind of single file, or I'll probably easier if I come by table. So I'm going to come to this first area. If anybody has a question, anybody? Anybody up here have any questions for the applicant or for county staff?
You define
Taylor,
that
they're not
short,
shy.
Okay.
can you define that short versus long term and what that define what you were explaining?
Yeah, I mean, most guests would be a few days or a week. I think in the application, it was no more than 30 days, like a 30-day max, but 30-day max was what was in the application. We're open to suggestions. The goal is that it's short term. You're coming here for a couple of days, a week, you're taking a vacation, and you're doing what you can do on the property, enjoying it, and then you're moving on.
Anybody else? Yeah, just probably raise your hands. I think well, I'm just going to kind of go left to right. Actually, ma'am, I think you did have the first question. Go on.
Well, it was the minimum maximum, but then to go off of that, are you guys, I mean, look, I have questions. So I'm just being honest. If we're gonna go off of that, are you gonna be marketing off-roading? Like, are they gonna be allowed to bring their utility vehicles and
No.
drive around? Okay. The number of lots, you said 277, is that the requirement by the state that you guys have to do for that amount of space? Or is there compromise where we could talk about maybe having a smaller park?
We're definitely open to that. There is no requirement. I mean, when you look at RV parks out there, we can go look at the RV Association of America. At dense park is 10 to 15 per acre, medium is 5 to 10, low is 3 to 5 per acre. We're at 3.3, so we're on the low end of the density. And we've heard that, 277 sounds high to you guys. We're definitely willing to adjust off that. It's just a matter of looking at all the conditions together and making sure, the project still works. Because there's other conditions that have come along as we've gone through this process. So, can't tell you a number today, but definitely willing to do less.
Ma'am, I think you had the first question. So I'm just going to kind of go like row by row, left to right, if that makes sense.
Does she have more questions? Do you have?
I do, I'm sorry. When we're talking about the roadway going in, is it pavement, asphalt? Like, what's the hard road like, the material, just so we know also for, obviously Rex is paved asphalt. So then your campgrounds, how are they? Like, what's the ground gonna
We
be?
plan to have them paved.
Okay, so everything is.
And,
I mean, Rex isn't paved.
but the percentage, the developed area is very small. And
Okay, I'm sorry, where they're located, guys, it is paved. I'm talking
Yeah.
about their way of having people come in is all on a paved way.
Yeah.
So I was just asking how it was in their lot. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and I'll try to keep it to one question per person to start. And there's a lot of us. I'm sure there's a lot of questions, and somebody might ask the question you're thinking
Yeah,
of.
I'll wait till the end then.
Ma'am.
So I'm gonna have like run-on questions then. I always got in trouble for run-on sentences, so I guess like a couple of my biggest concerns is, my name is Georgette, by the way, and thank you for being here, is the lack of stability with the transient. I mean, it scares me more when what about sex offenders? What about, people that, I mean, to me, anything transient to me is just that. They don't have the same vested, yes, you as the owners, absolutely. However, us as residential citizens that we live here, this is what we do. When you have people coming in and coming out and coming in and coming out, listen, we all live by it. And it tells me to go down Alps, and then tells me to go down Cork. And then it tells me to turn on Rex. That's where I'm going. You mentioned the waste management. They've been incredible, business partners from my vantage point. It's a rarity. Does it happen? Yes, when we get trucks that come down the residential streets. But these are neighborhoods that are very quiet, and we enjoy that. That's what we signed up for. And now we're going to have RVs coming in and out, and I think security for me is, with the transient population, that concerns me very much. And the traffic, you guys mentioned the noise, that's minimal. What about, our property value, right? So when a potential buyer hears that we have in 277, to you that's low, but to me as a resident here, wow, that's a lot, right? Because I don't have the same scope that you have. However, I'm gonna be less inclined to purchase property in an area where I know that there's a transient RV park. I love what you've done with the landscaping. I love the look on the front side of the property, but my big apprehensions are how transient it is. Who's going in there? At least I can determine who's safe and not safe, you know, because they show up, right? We just had it on the registry. What do I have to protect, you know, my family and, you know, when we have something such as this? And thank you again. I'll stop there.
I think on the, I don't know if I have a full answer on your safety concern. I mean, one, we will have presence 24/7, security presence. So that would be one.
On
thing.
your property?
On my property.
Okay, I'm around the corner. Can you give me some?
Okay, we'll look into that.
Thank you.
People are afraid, they're not gonna come to you.
See,
Yeah.
and I think when you say the word transit, you might think you could think a lot of different things. This is gonna be a high-end, high price point, you got someone in a nice RV. I think, I mean, I hear you and I understand your
You'll
concern.
discriminate against me if I don't have a really nice RV, because I've seen some.
So,
No, I mean, I'm not saying that, I'm just saying it's not a
Pricing.
person that's,
That'll,
Okay.
it's not a drifter that's.
Money doesn't mean anything.
Sorry, you had the next question.
Yeah, so Georgette, I hear you there. By the way, I live in the Windsor Grove subdivision, Tony Jones, and by the way, I'm an RV owner, been an RV owner for 10 plus years.
We're gonna be RV owners.
Okay, and so I will tell you, one of the things that my wife and I and my family look for when we go to an RV park is we want to understand who we're going to be around, right? We're not looking for a $20 a night, stay as long as you want, you know, put it up on blocks kind of thing. So Georgette, to your point, I've literally had RV parks that I've called that have said, hey, yeah, you've got a brand new, really nice RV, but it's not new enough and big enough to stay here. So there absolutely are RV parks out there that have an exclusive clientele. I won't use the discriminate word, but would love to hear what your RV size restrictions are. Are there, you know, will you let something older than 10 years old be there? You know, all these kind of things, right? Just what that marketing plan to that community of RV goers would be. Because it would weed out a lot of what I think some of the elements we're all fearful of.
We haven't set that in stone, so we can't say it's set in stone today, but what you're talking about is exactly the type of thing. Like, we have another partner who's doing a similar project, and we've already talking to the different consultants in the area, but they all recommend doing things like that. And you can, it's for all sorts of purposes, because you also want to say, who are we targeting? We want to get our message in front of them and stuff. Yeah, I think we will have some type, we don't have set in stone requirements I can tell you right now, but something like that will be put in place.
And just anything that you guys kind of, you know, raise concerns, the stuff the applicants can consider and bring back with a revised plan, right? So less units,
We'll
something like that.
definitely
And-
get back with Art and Lori on these answers. Those are great questions.
All right, I'm gonna go.
And by the way, that's
this,
good for you guys,
yeah.
right? Good for you guys.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna, this gentleman, so I'm gonna go here, and then I'm gonna go back to this lady in the white, and then that guy in the green. We'll do it kind of that way. I know there's a lot of us, so, sir.
Are you willing to talk about changing or altering your site plan and your campsites? You literally have RV parking within 100 foot of my gun range. And my fence.
I guess that's a yes.
Yeah, but me and my neighbors, we all have gun ranges. We shoot every weekend.
And then
You on Lake County side?
Oh, yeah.
He asked about changing the site plan.
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I was trying to repeat his
Would you
question.
put more
He
green
asked,
space
is there a
between
way
me
to modify the site plan?
A greater buffer.
Create buffer,
Specific because of
more
the gun
retention?
range.
we have a gun range.
Yeah, I mean, the whole
you're
site plan
everywhere.
should be,
Are you on the west line?
Plus including.
Yeah. So the west line already has an easement that's 100 feet in itself. So just from our pine stand itself to our fence line, so from east to west, is actually 100 feet.
Okay,
And
it
then
did look like that,
if you
okay.
look
My
at our
rifle
site
rounds go 100
plan,
yards.
if you look at our site plan, which we have currently, then in the pines, in an additional 50 feet buffer, then you have sites that start. We're going to have landscaping buffer that is up against the west line that we are required by code with Orange County around the entire property in itself in aggregate.
Ma'am, let me get the next question.
Yeah, so you're gonna have 277 sites, and it's 40 acres for that section, right? Is that correct, or 20 acres?
It's 40-ish acres that's defined, and 40-ish acres, it's 84 acres.
84 acres.
Okay, so let's go with 40 and keep it simple. So I can have single-family house on 5 acres or more in the settlement. So why should you be allowed to have more than 8 sites for 40 acres?
So she's asking about the number of sites and comparing that to single-family homes. Well, it's a different use, really. There's different intensity, different traffic, different utility use, different impact. And so I think that's why it's not apples to apples. It's different.
It's greater,
it's still our
greater
neighborhood.
use though, right?
And it's 84 acres itself, so different 40.
Carolyn, do you want to address that?
Yeah, so from a zoning standpoint, they're two different uses, and then like the applicant said, they're viewed differently. An RV park is a special exception use in the district, so there's criteria that have to be met for the special exception. So that's what staff's going to take into consideration based on what the applicant comes from with this meeting. They might revise the plan. Ultimately, there's criteria that we look at and we make a recommendation, whether it's consistent, whether it's something we would recommend approval or denial on. And then the Board of Zoning Adjustment makes kind of if they approve it, and then ultimately the Board of County Commissioners makes the decision. But use-wise, a single-family house is different than an RV park or an ag use or anything like that. Ma'am, I can do that the next question.
Okay, 2 things. Number one, I don't see it as, I see it as the same. It's still water usage, it's still waste usage, traffic, it's still cars. When I go down Phil C. Peters, I know you're saying they're gonna go down the other way. I'm seeing 4 to 5 cars, and I don't even leave early in the morning like most people since I'm retired. Let's put 2 or 3 RVs in that, and I will never be able to turn north on 545. Because we love RV, a lot of us RV, but we are independent people who RV. And you might tell us we've got to go that way to exit, but we're gonna do what either our map is telling us, or there's a lot of traffic, I'm going down that way instead. Human nature is what it is, okay? We moved down here forever ago. Luke, Jake, I respect you, I respect your family, I'm a First Academy person, First Orlando, but I am shocked. 277 sites. All the land usage stuff is gorgeous what you're doing, but you're not showing us. You're not showing us the 3 per acre that are going to be there, and the usage will still be the same. And each of those has at least 1 car with them. Look at the impact those cars, 277 cars at least, will have on the traffic we already have out there. And not just the routes you're saying, but all along any way that you get to Highway 5.
Yeah, I'll just add to that real quick. If you got 277 homes and they go and they stay there for on average a week at a time, you're talking a traffic of 36 RVs in and out every day. And if you decide to push that to only 2 days a week, because most people come in on Fridays and Saturdays, right? Or they leave on Sundays. Now you've just compressed that to where, guess what? Now you got more than 100. And they're all stacking up. You got people riding horses back there. They're going RVing. You got kids on bikes, motorbikes, everything else. It's gonna be a nightmare.
And where do they plan on getting gasoline?
So it sounds like we got a concern about traffic, echoing concern about traffic and a question about gasoline. If you want to address those,
Yeah, well, it's great questions, and we can definitely.
Okay, and a traffic study is required as part of this application, and it will be analyzed towards our recommendations, certainly. Sir, you here in the green shirt, and then you here in the green shirt.
So I'm McKinney. So I live in the same subdivision. This morning I'm leaving McKinney, and there's a big truck with big trailer going to the stop sign to get to Avalon. At the same time, turning from Avalon onto McKinney is a big waste management with a huge trailer. Both of them are driving on the yellow middle line because the road is too narrow, there is no shoulder, and in fact you can't even see the edge of the road in some spaces. When the county received the application for the church, county staff at that public meeting said, I think it might have actually been here, said that that portion of McKinney was not viewed by the county as a road. So the question for the developers is, at this stage, what are you planning on doing for traffic improvement, specifically on McKinney? What are your thoughts for traffic improvement specifically on McKinney? This traffic study, be damned. I want to hear about what you're actually going to do to widen the road.
I know the answer. Okay, so the road is going to be widened. That is the next section from New Independence Parkway past McKinney. It'll be 4 lanes.
McKinney. I'm talking about McKinney itself. McKinney's not scheduled to
They-
be widened.
oh. So
Avalon
the,
is.
currently, they will be going to 4 lanes on Avalon Road heading northbound. Past McKinney, they will be narrowing it down to 2 lanes, about, I think it was like 1,500 feet past McKinney. They're going to have a right and a left-hand turn lane off of McKinney, so if you want to go north on Avalon or south on Avalon, you will be able to do that from McKinney. So that is what that plan looked like.
But that doesn't address McKinney.
It doesn't address McKinney, there's no turn lane on McKinney.
No, they're going to make a
You're
right.
saying McKinney's not wide enough.
Okay.
It's not Avalon.
I can just add that,
If the
you know, the
county
traffic,
requires us,
yeah, if the county required, in the traffic study, it
They've
actually
already,
talks
it's on the
about,
plan.
yeah, the quality and the performance of the roads, and if they require it,
Yeah.
we'll do it.
It's on the plan.
So, sorry, yes or no, McKinney will be widened?
At the
County
intersection.
County would have to decide if that's, you know, they actually do the study and they actually do they get the data, and then
Right now.
county.
You get an answer?
So it sounds like at this time, no. We have a representative from transportation plan, there's no right of way.
Okay.
This gentleman here had the first question, and then I'll go back there.
I love your plan, it looks beautiful and everything, but I kind of agree with the rest of the people. We're talking about 277 new families here. I was just up in Rainbow Springs Campground this last weekend. It's packed. Right now, it's 13 months out if you want to make a reservation up there. 13 months. I envision this place, as nice as it's going to be, that it's going to be full all the time. So it doesn't make any difference if a person stays there for a week or 2 days or whatever. When one pulls out, another would be pulling in. So you got 277 new families.
Sir, I think in the lime green shirt, I think you got the last question. Yeah, I'll come over and I'll try to repeat it.
Can't hear you. All right, so Avalon at McKinney, right? Plan right now is to divide the road at McKinney. So that left turn and right turn is really all you should do, right? And so coming, so number one, there's no way, as that gentleman over there stated, 2 RVs are gonna be able to pass each other on McKinney currently. And then as they're coming out, 9 people are asking them to look for south because it's a divided road. So you're going to create a lot of traffic here. It's just still, yes, it's divided. And then the north, that's what I was reading, I'm just not.
Sometimes you don't.
So $1 plus. I'm trying to understand how all of this comes together to create a community that was sold, that, Avalon was supposed to be. And exactly, so I'm just really confused at how this ties together. Because none of what has been made thus far brings us to this.
Gotcha, so the concerns were about the intersection of Avalon and McKinney, the current, and that sounds like that's more in the Hamlin development. Ultimately, their request is just for an RV park, and they're for a special exception. There's a traffic study, the traffic study will tell them if they have to, dedicate right of way or improve any roadways. I don't know that unfortunately that something with this application will answer that question. It's certainly a concern about the RV traffic on that road, but I don't know that the county staff has the answer to that at the moment.
Well, the problem is if you're outside, you can't say like, we'll just talk about that later, like, that's.
Correct, and ultimately it's certainly something, but. Yeah, Meredith here from Transportation Planning. I'll let her speak to the trip generation specifically of what's proposed currently.
Yes, I know you're not gonna like what I'm gonna say, but the 277 RV site are not gonna generate 277 trips. Based on the Institute of Transportation Engineers, this RV site will generate only 76 PM peak trips, because not all of them are leaving the site and coming in at the same time. This is based on national surveys. I know you're not gonna like it.
And
Every time
I-4
I say
isn't supposed to
this-
have any traffic. I got
Oh, they do, but not 277, that's all.
When you said 76 trips, is that daily?
No, that's PM peak from 4 to 6.
So are you gonna, sorry, give me 1 second. On that question right there, are you planning on marketing or restricting RVs or other vehicles from leaving day to day? Because I guess my concern is that this is gonna be utilized as a way to get out of staying at a hotel and traveling to parks. People are using the RV parks, or other people are renting their RVs and hey, you can stay at this park and you just drive the RV every day to the theme parks. I think that can be problematic for a lot.
I believe there will be Ubers and buses from theme parks and whatnot coming in, bringing food, taking people. They won't all have a car. You can't just move a, 40-foot RV out daily and expect to park there at, any location.
All right, and it sounds like anybody that didn't hear the couple questions, the concerns are about people using this to stay and go to the parks as opposed to a hotel and the traffic that could generate through rideshare or just daily trips. So I'm going to let the applicant speak to that.
Obviously, that's not our intention. We're creating amenities on site to keep people there on site itself. Secondly, when you, your question about we have been in constant communication with Art and Lori. We have met with members of the board of the Lake Avalon Rural Settlement and going through discussions of what can work within your community, since we are an owner in your community. And so we want to do a project that is great for the area and
So my recommendation to you would be to market it with that kind of restriction. I think a lot of people would be happy to see that in your definition.
Oh, that's
So
great.
that there's no ride shares, so there's a limit on how often you
thank you.
Do you currently own any other RV parks?
We do own a RV park up in the Sumter County area.
Sumter County, what is it called?
Give us a minute.
We are affiliated with the partnership, so it's not the same partnership, but we're affiliated. It's called Shady Brook. It's very old. It needs to be.
Hence the name.
You guys mentioned that there shouldn't be a lot of, I live in Quincy Grove along with probably half the people here, but you guys mentioned that everyone should stay there, that they're not gonna have to leave for anything, so do you think people won't go to Publix, Walmart, the Ale House, Disney Springs? It's so many other things that, Disney is its own thing. We all know, I totally understand his concern with people staying there and going to Disney, but we live there to be in a residential area, not to be in this crazy RV tourist area that's just gonna draw in 277 people all the time. And the reality is, the Department of Transportation, to say 76 out of 277, I mean, come on, that's almost a little bit offensive, because if anyone here drives Orlando on a daily basis, tell me if I-4 and 528 and all these things were supposed to be what they were. So I personally think that that's very unfair to say, and there's so much uncertainty that's why people feel the way they feel.
Ma'am in the green, and then I'm going to look over here. I'm sorry if I missed you guys. I'll get you guys then. Yeah.
I just wondered, at the beginning of your talk, you mentioned that you've owned the land since 2021, and then you decided that this was the best use. Can you just expound on what your other options were and how you came to the conclusion that this was the best use for the land?
Well, this was actually our plan from the get-go. Agritourism is there's actually a law at the state level about agritourism, so we were exploring that, but and we are doing agritourism, but the county is kind of a joint effort because the county regulates part of that. So it's just taken us time to get a plan that we think would work. So
how does one, I guess my question is, how do they decide that a neighborhood needs an RV park as opposed to a tourist regular park?
So I want to make sure because I do know that the meeting notice was a bit confusing because it had like 4 words on it.
The next one, the public hearing notice.
Not throwing anyone under the bus, Taylor.
Use a microphone.
Oh.
Please, thank you.
Okay, so the meeting notice only had like 4 words for, I'm Lori Forrester, Lake Avalon Rural Settlement. I know that the meeting notice was very short. This is a special request, no zoning, no flume change, to put an RV campsites on this agritourism project. Please understand that agritourism is controlled by the state. They meet every single requirement necessary for this to be an agritourism operation. If who here has been to Southern Hill Farms? Raise your hand. Probably most of you. The rest of you probably will end up there after I say this, but anyway. They have carnivals, they have concerts, they have weddings, they have all kinds of things. There's 4,000 people that will come in there virtually every day. So when you stop to think and look about, when you stop to say to yourself, they had 12 options to pick from agritourism, and what they chose or looked at is what is the least intrusive. And the least intrusive was actually adding campsites. Do I like 277? No, I do not like 277. I think that is too high myself. And so everybody in this room, if you don't like the number, raise your hand and then okay, so go, what did I say? I said every hand in the room would be raised on the 277. So that's one thing that they were aware of. And as anybody called or talked to me or texted me or whatever, every question you had, every concern you had, anything that was bothering you or that you were like, no, I immediately either texted or emailed them to give them a laundry list of the concerns of the community. They have been very attentive to the concerns of our community and have made tremendous changes to this plan as a result. The one thing that I want, for those that are the rural settlement, I appreciate Lindsay Groves and Hamilton Gardens, a few folks are here, but the one thing that we keep talking about in our rural settlement is we want agricultural land to be as agricultural as possible. There is only 27% of this parcel, I did the math myself, and as anyone who knows me knows I'm incredibly good at math. There's 27% of this parcel that will have something on it. The rest of the parcel will have the citrus trees. They're going to, the diversification to mango trees, etc. When you look at what our other options would be for this parcel, if they want to go down the agritourism path, I'm not a big fan of turning this into Southern Hill Farms. I'm not a big fan of having nonstop cars all the time. And the people that I had spoke to within the rural settlement also said, that'll be a nightmare from a traffic standpoint. So for them to turn around and say, okay, let's see how we can minimize that, and our choices, from the choices they had, doing the RV campsites really was the best option that we had for the lessening of the traffic. Now, if you are riding in a $500,000 RV, believe me when I say this, you are going to follow the exact route that they tell you to follow. When you exit that building, they will have curbing. You will have one choice other than to drive over the curbing, and that is to head south on Rex Drive and then over on McKinney Road. So what I really am hoping that we do tonight is to this is going to happen, people. It's already happened. It's not controlled by the county. It's controlled by the state. This has been approved. They met the criteria. So what I was hoping...
So we no longer have.
No, you do not. You didn't listen to my sentence. So
You just said it's going to
So the RV park portion of what they're proposing is regulated by the county. The RV park is the request.
Right.
There are agritourism uses that they could do that are what you would consider more commercial in nature, for
Very
sure.
commercial.
Like Southern Hill Farms, the UPIC places, those things are regulated at the state level. They basically exempt any municipality from regulating them for anything. They don't even need to pull building permits or anything like
Right.
that.
So we
The
have-
RV park does
No,
require a special
We
exception.
have a vote, and everybody that has talked to me or anyone else has, whatever they have said, I have told them. Dark Sky Lake, I've told them. You know, no traffic through the rural settlement, told them. They've already
But it won't
talked.
be traffic through the rural zone.
No, it won't be traffic through this.
Avalon.
Avalon, no, because
Yeah.
what I'm trying to explain to you is their exit has a curve. An RV is not going to hop over a curb to make a left. They're going to go right. If you have one person that does that, okay, but everything that they are doing is to minimize. Yeah, everybody has a mind of their own. Everybody has free will. Some people like to follow rules, some people do not. I can look in this room and I can see, and I'm pointing at you, the people that don't like to follow rules versus the people that do like to follow rules. So all I am saying is if you are a rule follower and there's a curb and it forces you to make a right-hand turn, if you want to go over the curb, I'm
But
sorry.
there's the secondary traffic of the cars they bring with them.
Okay, so even the cars, as they exit, it is going to be a right-hand.
No curb too high, no
And
down too
ultimately, we do only have about 5 minutes left or so. We do have a hard stop at 7, and I know people over here had some
We
questions.
need people to give us comments that we can make sure are incorporated in their plan.
Yeah, and everybody, my contact info, I have a card here, and if you got the notice, my email address is on there. You can certainly shoot me an email, and I'll relay anything that I get from you all, comments, concerns, questions, to the applicant as well.
Will you go over BZA date and BCC date?
Yes, yeah, as I went over at the beginning, but, so the BZA date as of now is scheduled for September 5th. It's the first Thursday in September. You'll get a notice, just like you got a notice for this a couple weeks before it. If it changes for whatever reason, if it gets pushed to another, the next month, then we will certainly let you know as well. If you signed in on this, I can shoot you an email. If you shoot me an email, I can let you know everything that's happening with the case. So once it goes to BZA, that's the first public hearing, and then there's typically a second public hearing later in the month, or it might get pulled for its individual public hearing. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case on this one. It looks like it's pretty well attended community meeting. Ma'am, I know you had your hand up for a long time, so I apologize.
Yeah, no, a couple of real quick things I wanted to say about the dirt road on Rex. One, you're gonna have people that are getting stuck. No matter how you look at it, you're gonna tell people instructions. They're gonna go down that road, and that road is definitely improved. There's, what is to say that once you guys have these rules, this is my presentation, and that those rules aren't changed. I know it's a special exception, but just like every other thing, things got, approved, and then rules get changed, down the road. So we don't know about that. And I will have to say that, the development, the Dream Riders development, that traffic hasn't even been factored into any of this yet. That all of those homes are gonna be on the road as well. And honestly, this is going to be, like the gentleman said in the back, the attractive for Disney, no matter how you look at it. There is a short-term rental and people are gonna be in and out. They are proven to be more on the road during short-term rentals and things like that in our area than in other areas.
All right, thank you. Sorry, I know you've been, I'm gonna try to get the people over here before we have to go. Unfortunately, we do have to go here pretty quick. We only have this for now.
So everyone here is going to do with the traffic. Tom, myself, HK, and the DeWitts, all back up this property. There's 4 of us. Of course, I have animals, my kids, grandkids ride the horses, used to ride through the property before the fence at all. Everything has been taken away from us. That's why it's a rural settlement. That's why I moved there 20 years ago. So that's why I'm there, right? But my point is, if you, like Tom said, I got a gun range, my next door neighbor does, where's the name? Right to that property. So now you're taking all of our freedoms away, like it or not. You're taking what we moved out there for, we're losing everything. But is there gonna be some kind of barrier? You said a buffer area, but can we have a wall like you got down the 429? I mean, I'm serious. I'm gonna walk up my property, which I look out right now, and I see these pine trees behind me, beautiful pine trees. But now I'm gonna see, you can see the buffer zone is pine trees, and they're 8 foot apart, and it's just an open, it's like looking right down I-4. I mean, you just look at it and see it all through there. So I'm gonna look at that every day I walk out of my house.
Yeah,
Invasion of privacy, I mean, it's just,
Yeah, for code, they do require a buffer. The buffer is a landscape buffer, but certainly additional buffering is something they could consider as well. I've got time for probably maybe 2 more questions, and then we do have to wrap up. It's after 7 o'clock. Ma'am.
Okay, so I live about a quarter mile up the road from this on Rex. I am intimately familiar with the landfill and the traffic from the landfill, even though they are, by their operational permit and by county ordinance, not permitted to drive through the rural settlement to get to the landfill, every single day they are coming down Rex to go to the landfill. Now, information for you guys, at 6 a.m., Monday through Friday, landfill trucks start lining up alongside the road and across the road and into the entrance of the landfill. 6 a.m. Landfill doesn't open until 7. They line up all the way down Rex. When they come out of the landfill, they pull off the side of the road to do their paperwork or eat their lunch or whatever they do. And you can see, you know, because you've put up barriers already, they've been parking in your driveways, they park all along the edge of that road. Y'all need to have a plan for how to deal with that. Because your RV owners are not going to want to fight getting past all these dump trucks every morning to come in. The second, when you mix the RV traffic with the landfill traffic on McKinney, you are going to have problems. I hope the traffic study shows this, because otherwise we're just going to start a pool for when the first fatal accident happens. My question now for the county, if this business does not work out and they decide to sell the land or turn it into something else, what happens to the special exemption that they've been granted? Can the next buyer pick it up? Can somebody, what happens with this special exemption? Is it only tied to this group, or how does that work?
It's typically tied to a site plan, so the specific plan that gets, if it gets approved, right, is the exact plan. It's not necessarily tied to an owner, so if somebody owned it and said, all right, I'm going to sell this to somebody else, the other people that they sold it to would still have to operate in the exact same manner. They'd still be subject to the exact same conditions,
Sell it as
subject to the site, but somebody a different operator could own it typically. We got time for one more. I mean, unfortunately, we do have to get out of here. So I'm just going to go, ma'am with the black hoodie on right here.
We live on Beta Avenue. My question is there going to be a dump station for these RVs, or how is that working?
As part of our package plan that we're looking at itself, there will be dump stations for RVs so that they can, dump their RV.
It's septic or sewer?
Yeah. So the package plan itself is not a septic system, right? It's a high-end package plant that filters out.
A package plant is a water treatment system. Right. That's what he means by a package plant.
So it's a water treatment system, wastewater system.
Where would that be?
I believe it was it's toward the front of the site, next to the other landfill, right? Yeah.
In the quadrant up here by Rex.
Can you give any information on the event barn? I'm very concerned about the event barn and basically what kind of, you said no PA system. I find that hard to believe. I feel like maybe in the beginning you're gonna say that until somebody says, okay, my music, this party needs to be a little bit more happening. What is actually happening with this event barn that's gonna be so close to the properties of all these people?
As it's been mentioned a number of times, the good fortunate thing with the special exception are there conditions that are associated with that special exception. And so we'll be working with the county, with the Lake Avalon Rural Settlement, figuring out these conditions that govern the property